Hi, this is Ron Sexsmith, and you're watching Toasted.
You just released your new album, Carousel One.
Mm-hmm.
At first listen, the first thing I noticed was it sounds very warm, organic to me. Like it felt like a Sunday afternoon in the sun.
Oh.
Is this something you chose for?
Well, it sort of had a lot to do with the musicians, I think, and the studio. We worked with this great engineer named Jim Scott, great producer, and he's more of an old school kind of producer. So right away it had a very retro kind of sound. I'm 51. That's the kind of sound that appeals to me, when the bass sounds warm and everything. So, it just sort of happened accidentally.
You said you worked with Jim Scott on this album, and before you worked with like Bob Rock, also a big name in music business.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two?
Well, I think Bob is a great producer as well, but I think his production is a little more contemporary sounding. He likes to use a lot of the airbrushing and the auto-tuning that a lot of pop music has these days. And also Bob's really into the big rock sounds, like big drums and big guitars, where Jim not so much, very different approaches, but I enjoyed working with both of them.
Coming back to the album, I want to talk about some of the songs on there. The first one, Saint Bernard, I read it's about a dog,
Yeah.
but also you had like a nickname as a Saint Bernard for you?
Not really a nickname, but it's always been my favorite kind of dog, and I've always thought I look kind of like a Saint Bernard too, especially the older I get, But no, it's just I don't have a dog, and I live in Toronto. It's not really a good place to have a dog, in the city, like a big dog anyway. But if I had one someday, it would probably be a Saint Bernard. And my wife bought me a big a portrait of a Saint Bernard that a family had made, back in the 70s or something. So I just wrote it about that, really,
Another song I really like was Getaway Car.
Okay.
It's like it has a more upbeat feel to me.
Yeah.
What's the inspiration? It even sounded like Kinkish,
Yeah.
Beatlesque to me.
Oh, definitely. Well, I think all my influences are, Ray Davies is a big influence, and the Beatles and all that. But also it's a rock and roll song, which it's kind of my favorite sort of music is 50s rock and roll, And so you don't hear a lot of that very much these days on the radio. There's a lot of rock music, but that doesn't roll, though. And the roll was an important element to rock and roll. It was just a fun song to record. I wrote it about my wife and how we've been together so long that we have a bit of a psychic ability to know if we're at a party, if she can tell if I'm having a bad time, and she'll, and vice versa, so she'll go and get the car and bring it around, and so we can escape, and so that's kind of what the song's about. It's sort of a humorous song about that.
Nothing feels the same anymore.
Yeah.
I want to highlight one lyric. Feels like heaven has closed the door.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
I guess I was just thinking about the state of music, I suppose, or the music I grew up as a kid. It just sounded so magical to me, and and I was just thinking, I hear a lot of people that sound the same these days and sing the same way, the sort of vocal affectation. So the whole idea of heaven has closed the door, I mean, sometimes you feel that maybe it's just, it can't go back to what it was, It's like maybe everyone, we missed the boat, they're not letting any more people in, sort of thing like that. Because I think of all the great artists that, it was inspired by Phoebe Snow, actually. It's one of my favorite singers. And I just think I can't really think of anyone that's around these days that's like her, that was so that sang so well at phrasing and their songwriting. These days you got artists who their songs are written by a committee of people.
Yeah.
They don't play an instrument, they don't sing without auto-tune. You hear so many women that sound exactly like Adele, or they sound like Amy Winehouse, or they sound like sort of an indie girl voice. It's hard to explain. But when I was a kid, Dusty Springfield didn't sound like Karen Carpenter, and she didn't sound like Dionne Warwick, and Paul McCartney didn't sound like Bill Withers. You know what I mean? So it seems to be there's a lot these days where the music is very very samey, and I don't know or why that's happening. So I was thinking about all those things when I wrote that song.
Don't you feel that goes into circles? Like, for example, that in the 80s it was all like very futuristic sounding,
Yeah.
I would say, and then
Yeah.
back in the 90s it got more like grounded with the grunge and all that type of
Yeah.
thing again.
Oh, definitely. But even in the 80s, though, everybody sounded different. Like the Smiths didn't sound like, Boy George, or you know what I mean? Like it was all very different. And in the 90s, that's when I got signed in the 90s. And, you hear a lot of people in the 90s singing like Eddie Vedder, with that kind of,
Yeah.
kind of voice, right? So I don't know. There just seems to be this thing where that happens, where there's a band sounds a certain way, and then the labels will sign other bands that sound just like that or something. But yeah, it's all it all moves in circles, and there's obviously a lot of great music being made today too. But it's not always what the radio's playing or is embraced by popular culture. It's just my perspective, which is as a 51-year-old guy from Canada, I like what I like, and sometimes I when I hear what's popular these days, I get I don't understand it. I feel a bit out of touch with it.
Another one is All Our Tomorrows. I read that it's a very special song to you, like, and I want to know why. What is the meaning for you personally behind it?
Well, I always saw that song as sort of it's like the centerpiece of the record, and
It's not in the middle.
No, but it's sort of it's a place on the record where it's sort of the album is in the home stretch, and it's like the last sort of ballad, really, kind of before the record ends, and it's just kind of about not being so hard on yourself, I mean, the people we were yesterday aren't necessarily the people we're going to be, and everyone makes mistakes, and even those mistakes are have a purpose too, and we're meant to be in some ways. And so I was just singing about all that karma. I was singing about fate, and yeah, it's just a song. It's kind of a spiritual song, But it's strangely enough, it's one of my favorites on the record. But we've only performed it once live on this tour, so it's more of an album cut, I think.
Is it because it's maybe too close to your heart?
No, I just think because I have so many albums now that it's hard to pick and choose which songs. And I have a lot of ballads as well that people want to hear from earlier records. And so we've been doing When Nothing Feels the Same Anymore instead, because it feels like it's more of a live song, It works, whereas All Our Tomorrow is a little more subtle. But we played it the other night, though, in England, and it went over. So we may play, who knows, we may even play it tonight. So.
You have a lot of famous artists that are fans of yours, like
Yeah.
Paul McCartney, Elvis Costello. He said that maybe it's been your curse that you've been born out of time. How do you feel about that yourself?
Maybe in terms of the music I make, but I feel very lucky to have been born when I was, and to have heard the music I heard growing up and all that stuff. So I feel lucky. I mean, I'm not happy about being 51 or anything, but I can't do anything about it. No, but definitely the music I've been making ever since I first came out in '95 has always felt a bit unfashionable with the rest of the music. So, maybe if I had come out in the 70s, maybe I would have had more luck. I don't know. I think I came out exactly at the time I was supposed to,
Does it sometimes worry you when you, like nowadays, a lot of people don't buy albums anymore. They stream them or download them. Or does it sometimes worry you that you make a sound that is true to your heart, but it's maybe not that popular in the mainstream? That there's a chance that in the end of the day, maybe there won't be a job for you anymore.
Oh yeah, I worry about that all the time, yeah. But thankfully, I have a very loyal fan base all around the world. So even if I wanted to just go independent by myself, I could probably do it. I have almost 20,000 followers on Twitter, which isn't a lot compared to what some people have. But
It's much more than I have. So.
well, yeah, see that. So I mean, I have a fan base that if I had to do it by myself, I could reach them somehow. So I'm not really worried about not having it, but I do worry, like sometimes I don't know if I'll be able to keep touring because it's so expensive and the records are expensive to make, I mean, I can't predict the future, but I'm just really lucky that I started when I did, I would hate to be starting now, where I don't know when people got this idea that music should be free. It's just ridiculous, It's like, it costs so much money to make, and it's such an important part of people's lives. It's like, well, maybe musicians should have free food and free clothes then, if people are, I'll get some free pants tomorrow, because it's not just you write the songs, but you go to the studio and the musicians need to be paid, and the guy does the art needs to be paid. And so it's so this idea that it should be free is just insane, Unfortunately, a lot of the kids coming up these days who've gotten used to that, they don't understand the value of it, of what it means. Like, I used to cut grass when I was a kid to make money to buy records, and I used to feel really proud that I didn't have to ask my mom to buy records. I'd go in the store with my own money and buy my Elton John records or whatever, and it made the experience more valuable, I think, and I think a lot of the people that are into my music, they're probably older and they still buy it. I've never downloaded a single thing in my whole life, So
Never?
Never, no. I don't have a phone. I don't, I'm kind of a dinosaur in some ways, so.
You don't have a phone?
No. I
So
don't like phones, no. I have a phone at home, like a home phone, but I don't have one of those things that people, they're going like this all the time with,
But how do you stay in touch with your wife then?
Well, she's with me on the road. No, but I have a laptop. But even that, sometimes I wish computers were never invented, because I think they've caused more trouble than good in some ways.
That's also like a new market could be brought in
Yeah.
via internet.
Well, definitely, there's people that they figured out how to use it to their advantage and make money, and there is money to be made out there. But I was really upset, actually. My album was streaming for free for months before it even came out. And that sort of bothered me, I know that's how people do it these days, but I just thought, well, I used to like it when you never heard a note of the record until you bought it, But anyway, a lot of this stuff is out of my control, unfortunately, for me, I mean, it's a whole new world out there, and people do things differently. But personally, I like to buy records, and I like to listen to records. I don't like to listen to random shuffle and stuff like that, so it's just I'm a product of my generation. If I was growing up a kid today, I would probably have a phone and have all this kind of stuff, but I got along really well without all that stuff my whole life, so I don't feel like I'm missing anything,
But the internet's kind of used for the kids. It's more accessible nowadays.
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing too, is even if people aren't buying my music, there's, you can go on YouTube and hear anything you want, and that's kind of cool. And that's also in terms of when we're playing shows, all the Twitters and things of networking with people, and obviously Google's very helpful, because now any question you have, you Google, and oh, there it is. I mean, even that is probably bad, because before you had to actually go to an encyclopedia or something, and the information these days, I don't think a lot of the information sticks in your brain. You look up an answer, oh, there it is, and then you almost immediately forget it, because you